Hi, my name is Kenzie Dolan, and I am the certified professional astrologer with Ruby Jade Rituals. And this is a segment that I like to call Big Nights in the Sky. Today is August 29th. Happy Labor Day if you're in the United States. And look, there are a lot of people that are feeling the intensity of this energy, and I am here to educate you on what is actually happening. Now, before I go into the nitty-gritty of what is actually occurring right now astrologically, I want to specify that I have been sitting with quite a bit of people that just have a helpless look on their face. And what astrology teaches its students, its clients, is that life is not a walk in the park. And that is really why I love astrology, because it holds you during times of uncertainty, during hard times. Now, we have to remember that Earth is a planet just like Uranus and Pluto and Jupiter. And all those planets in astrology teach us about ourselves. And we bring that lesson here on Earth and we understand the inner workings of a Saturn transit. And we use it to our advantage here on Earth. Now, going back to it being a planet Earth, you have to remember that we came to Earth to learn. So that is a thought from spirituality. It's a thought from a branch of astrology called evolutionary astrology, and I firmly do believe in that. I believe that the soul wants to evolve. And so when we have a lot of intense transits going on or fated events that are coming down the pipeline, you can feel helpless. But what frustrates me as an astrologer that is here to educate you, that, life is tough and we came to the world, the earth, to turn the wheel of karma to make it into dharma. There is going to be times where you are going to be in between a rock and a hard place. And what a good astrologer would do is just have you actually just sit with the hard times. And like some religions, Buddhism particularly, it's really good about understanding that hard times come into our lives kind of like clouds passing in a sky. And so I like to repeat a quote that my dad taught me a long time ago is that nothing in life is permanent, everything is temporary. And it goes back to the only thing that's constant in our world is change. So what you need to feel secure in is change. And so the good thing about astrology and the good thing about change is that astrology is just the language of pattern recognition, time measurement, and things are always changing. And so we are in a portal of change right now, and I'm here to educate you on that through the eclipses that we're going to be covering in this episode. We're also going to be talking about some of the outer planets, the movements, and the changes that they've been making. And then also there is a event that's co going on that's dealing with Pluto. And so what we're going to do is we're going to first start out with just talking about 2025. 2025, like the Astro Twins quoted, it is the year of the great divine pendulum. And the reason why they said that is because there are so many outer planets, basically every outer planet except for Chiron. And Chiron is not a planet, it is an asteroid. So every outer planet in our solar system has moved signs. And this hasn't happened in the same Gregorian calendar year since the 1500s. That's why people are saying it is the year of the great divine pendulum. The pendulum in mysticism, it basically is like a spiritual compass to kind of help you understand the direction that things are going in. So, this year is really showing us that change is coming whether we like it or not. And so, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, they all have changed signs. In fact, I'm speaking to you right now when all of those planets, including Pluto, have changed signs. So we are working on a completely different astrological landscape than we were working on back in March, which was the last eclipse season. And if you want to take it 365 years or 365 days a year ago, completely different astrological landscape. Now, with that, there has been some confusion because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of people out there that think that they know astrology, but they don't. And I'm going to quote Bernadette Brady. She's known in the astrology world, and she talks a lot about the eagle and the lark. The eagle is the technicality, and the lark is the intuition. So astrology is a language, it's not a belief system, but it's basically a science and an art combined into one. So, what I've been seeing online is that everyone thinks we're in the great age of Aquarius. I'm here to pop that bubble. We are not. That is marketers just jumping on astrology because it's hot right now. That's people that are on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook that want to just get clout, likes, follows, partnership deals, whatever it is. They don't know what they're talking about. They haven't taken the time to actually learn the language and dig deep. They're just honestly regurgitating false information. And so you're on my channel, and somebody that has Virgo placements, Jupiter and Venus, I like to be accurate. I like to make sure that I'm delivering accurate messaging to my followers and the people that learn from me and the people that I like to collaborate with. Because, yes, astrology is man-made, but it's an ancient practice that has been helping people since the dawning of time, basically. So it's really important that you're getting your information from a trusted source. It's just like going to the news. You want to make sure that you're getting your information from a trusted source. So I have done the due diligence, and I can tell you a little bit about where we're at right now. So we're not in the great age of Aquarius. I'm sorry to inform you that. Um, but we do have Pluto in Aquarius, and really that is what people are getting it confused with 100% because that actually started, Pluto started to dip its toe in Aquarius back in 2023, and it was kind of doing a dance where it was going into Aquarius, going back into Capricorn, and it was due to the retrograde that Pluto has every year, half the year. And so that was happening in 23, 24, and then in 24, it finally, retrograded for the last time in our lifetimes into Capricorn, and then it went back into Aquarius, where it will be until 2044. Now, as humans, that's easy for us to measure a Pluto transit, but the great ages, humanly impossible to measure. Let me just educate you on what a great age is. They're periods of time based on Earth's axis wobbling through the constellations. It's the precession of the equinoxes. Each age lasts 2,160 years. So, how the hell would humans know when these ages begin or end? There's no way. It's impossible. Going back to more information on the great ages, they flow backward through the zodiac like the nodes. And I love that I'm talking about this because we are going to be talking about the eclipses very soon. So the age of Pisces, which we are currently in, began in 1 CE or 0 BC or 200 BC. The age of Pisces has themes of compassion and receptivity. And within each age, there are 12 100-year cycles called eras. And within the eras, there are 12 cycles called phases. The wobble takes two 2,590 years to complete. 2,500 years. Okay? And in one complete cycle, there are 12 2,160 years each. Eras and phases move forward, time is flowing forward and backwards. And so it really mirrors like an eclipse and how time kind of merges as one, past, present, future kind of come together. And so a lot of people don't understand eclipses either because they're kind of missing the point that these fated events called eclipses, they're tied to events that happened in the past that will happen also in the future. So it's a very spiritual time, and we'll touch more on that when we get to the eclipse portion. But look, there's a build-up period of 900 or basically a build-up period of 720 to 900 years prior to an age changing or a phase changing. Um, Not an era because eras are only 180 years, but remember, each age lasts 2,160 years. So I take that back where it would be a build-up period for eras or phases that wouldn't be happening. They're too small of periods. It's really this build-up period of 720 years to 900 years prior to an age changing. So what's happening probably, and look, I don't know for sure, but I can use my common sense, is that we're feeling the build-up period to the great age of Aquarius. And we're getting that through this Pluto transit in Aquarius. And we're also feeling it with this buildup period. This is what we're feeling right now. And typically, what is very good to help indicate what actual age we're in is to look for the opposite sign, and that is evident. And so, what the opposite sign that we would be looking for would be Virgo, because that's the opposite of Pisces. And I mean, this whole talk really today is about the eclipses in Pisces and Virgo, but it's also like when I think about Virgo being um, evident right now, like where we are at currently, is I do feel like people have so much information. And information is linked to Mercury. That's Virgo, and Virgo is linked to Mercury. And I think we have a lot of know-it-alls due to the internet. And there is a lot of like clutching and white knuckling of perfectionism. And I see that in pretty much every person that I sit down with, but I also see it just with people that don't like actually um, seek out astrology. So I do believe that we're in the great age of Pisces. In fact, I mean I know it. I've done the background digging, but Pisces rules spirituality. Um, and it also rules transcendence and prophecies, and there's illusion and imprisonment and fear. And there is a lot of fear that's circulating. So currently we are in the great age of Pisces, and we are in the Pisces era. So we have double Pisces energy present. And we just came out of the Aquarius era, another kind of preview of what the great age of Aquarius will be like, and that ended in 1980. And when I think about like the 80s, I wasn't born. I didn't live in the 80s, but I do know that, credit cards were introduced. That is something that's new, and it is a technological advancement with currency. People are not bringing around coins anymore. It's very rare to find people carrying cash, even though cash is king. Um, the 1980s, you had computers, really like you think of Macintosh. Um, and now we have all this advancement with, microcomputers, which are basically iPhones. So we're now in this Pisces era, and I feel like what's really, really interesting is you still see like all this fear. You also see a lot of religious wars that are going on, quote unquote, religious wars. And it really feels like these religious wars, the people that have created them have no soul. And so that illusionment is there. We are also in a phase because remember there's phases within eras, and we're in the Gemini phase until 2025, and then we will be moving into the Cancer phase. But the Gemini phase is mass movements of people, and the Cancer phase is more about home, but it's also about bloodline and divine feminine. And I have noticed just with some of the things that have been occurring with younger people, younger generations, the millennials. Millennials can't afford homes. Millennials are not having kids as much as their parents in the baby boomer generation. It's interesting. So, just keep in mind that we are not in the great age of Aquarius. We are in the tail end of the great age of Pisces. We're in the Pisces era. We are in the Cancer phase. We're getting close, but we're not there yet. So don't sink your teeth in for clickbait and people that have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, so let's talk more about Pluto. So Pluto's in Aquarius, and when Pluto touches anything, it transforms it, it regenerates it. And so it's in Aquarius, and Aquarius is a natural rebel. And so I feel like Pluto being in Aquarius, it's not its home sign, which is Scorpio, but Scorpio is a rebel, Aquarius is a rebel. I feel like it's going to do good work. And the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius, there was a lot of revolution that happened. We had the French Revolution, we had the American Revolution. And look, there's a very rare astrological transit that is occurring, and it's Pluto going out of bounds. And Pluto going out of bounds is a little difficult to understand, but a planet is considered out of bounds when its declination is exceeding a range outside of the celestial equator. And so that range is plus or minus 23 degrees, 27 minutes. And when it's out of bounds, then it's out of the authority of the sun, the governing authority of the sun. It doesn't really have the checks and balances that the sun gives to a planet when it's inbounds. So it can be a bit of a wild card energy. And I find it so interesting because we are going into wild card energy with the eclipses. And so this out of bounds with Pluto in Aquarius just happens to be today. And it's going to be with us until November 22nd. And really, like, that is n no coincidence, in my opinion, because we just we do need a little bit of a shakeup. Things are not working, they're not working anymore. And I think it's important for us to kind of be comfortable with change and that realize that, change is the only constant that we have. Um, Nothing in life is permanent, everything is temporary. And if we can get comfortable with the change, which astrology definitely helps with, then we will be fine with Pluto going out of bounds or the eclipses coming in and bringing lots of change. But it's so interesting because how the universe communicates, it will bring up certain things that mirror each other. It's just basically saying, hey, change is coming. Maybe it's a good time to stop white knuckling things. So that is occurring. And I mean, like, the out of bounds thing is really like a very advanced, it's a very advanced technique. It's something that I'm just starting to learn, but it's definitely noteworthy. And a lot of people are saying to work with the energy, just to allow the change to come in, allow the transformation to come in, allow the regeneration to come in. Um, don't be afraid to confront things that are confronting because Pluto energy is really all about pulling back the curtain on things that are supposed to be covered. And that can be overwhelming, that can be confronting, but at the end of the day, astrology is shadow work, and Pluto is kind of the king slash queen of shadow work. It's tied to Scorpio. Scorpio likes to dance with the skeletons in the closet. And so I do feel like this Pluto out of bounds, it's going to be with us for 10 years and it's going to be happening in these short spurts of times where it's going to be 2 months and then another year will go by and it'll be another 2 months. And so it's going to be happening in these like small doses. And Pluto, like I like to say that it's silent, but it's deadly. And there's sometimes it's very good for a death and rebirth cycle to happen. There are things that need to die in our lives because when one door closes, another one opens. And Pluto and Scorpio do a great job of showing you that death is merciful, that life is actually rooted in death, and it's death is highly compassionate. And I would not be afraid of this. I would embrace it and understand that there are things that need to die in your life, and that is okay coming from somebody that just got divorced, coming from someone that has had many death and rebirth cycles in the career world, many breakups, I mean, many friendship uh, breakups as well. It's important. It's important. There are things that just need to die, and sometimes it's okay to burn a bridge that's leading you to absolutely nowhere. And so, what this out of bounds will probably do for you is it's going to show you some of the things that need to just to go. They need to go, or they need to be exposed, or there needs to be a um, there needs to be power needs to be redirected in a new way. It's being misused or abused. And this should be more about empowering yourself, if anything. So that's happening. And then we are now in this eclipse portal. And look, it's really been building since that new moon in Virgo that happened on August 23rd. And we're slowly but surely getting into more of that eclipse energy. but it ramps up a month before. So it really has been with us since August 7th. And before that even occurred, that like 1 month out eclipse feeling, it's we were in Mercury retrograde. Um, and then you had to think about like all the outer planets, moved signs. We had Uranus moving into Gemini, hasn't happened since 1949, something like that. Um, we had Jupiter moving into Cancer, which Jupiter moves signs every 12 or every year. So it spends a year in all the 12 signs. So that wasn't as monumental as Uranus moving signs. We had Neptune moving into Aries. That hasn't happened in quite some time. That means Neptune completed a cycle. We have Saturn moving into Aries. Saturn spends about 2.5 years in each sign, so that wasn't as monumental as Neptune or Uranus. And then we had Pluto re-enter Aquarius and it being there to stay until 2044. And so a lot of people are saying that something like this hasn't happened since the 1500s. And I don't know if I said this already, but this is like the Astro Twins have said, it's the year of the great divine pendulum. So much change. We started the year off with a Mars retrograde. We then had a Venus retrograde. We've had two Mercury retrogrades. We will have our third Mercury retrograde after eclipse season. But let's go ahead and unpack the eclipses. So, with that, there's a few things that I want to talk about because we just need to we need to set the expectation. Going back to the point that I made where I'm having a lot of people come to me and be like, is that going to be bad or is that going to be good? And look, it's all the way that you look at it. And nothing is inherently good or bad. It's all about your perception of things. So don't look for a tarot card reader or an astrologer to be your crystal ball or your fortune teller because you're placing way too much of your own personal power into someone else when you are in the driver's seat of your life. Now, when big transits happened, like Pluto going out of bounds or Pluto in Aquarius going over your natal moon sign or your natal sun sign, I mean, you're really not in the driver's seat. That's more of like a fated transit that's just coming to you because your soul probably signed up for that transit. But eclipses are similar. They are fated events. We have no control over them. They're linked to events that happened in the past that are going to also happen in the future. They're connected to these things called serocycles. And serocycles are ways that we track eclipses. We understand, okay, what serocycle are we working with? And that's why I really like to say that during eclipses, it's almost like time is merging as one, past, present, future kind of merge into one. And I love to do ancestral work during eclipses. I like to work with my bloodline. And the reason why I preach this, I am um, a human development and family studies minor, so I have a degree. And a lot of people, understand the work, but some people don't get it. They don't get why, tracing your bloodline and understanding your ancestry would be helpful in your healing path. Well, the reason for it is because there is probably one or two ancestors that really prayed for a person like you. You also might be a light worker in your family. You might be the first person that went to college. You might be the first person that went to therapy. Um, you might be the first person that got a divorce. You might be the first person to have a healthy baby. And so, like, you have to realize that there are so many people that came before you for you to get to the place that you are in today. You also might be coming from a family where you did not receive a lot of love. And so sometimes looking at the bloodline, you can find an ancestor to look up to that maybe wasn't really a part of your life, and you can feel the love from them on the spirit world. Now, during eclipses, I really think, and I don't know this for certain, but an astrologer that does study death, an astrologer that does have a lot of connection to the spirit world, I really do feel like the spirit world is communicating quite frequently during eclipses because remember, we're working with Saros cycles. We're working with events that's happened in the past and that are happening in the future. If you can think of that interstellar scene where he's on another planet and he's trying to communicate to his daughter, and that is very Aquarian, that thought that we can, communicate to people in different realms, but like parallel universes, there could be a higher version of yourself that's trying to communicate to you during eclipse season. There could be a past version of yourself that's trying to communicate to you during eclipse season. So it's important to be an active listener. And I've been saying that to people ever since I took my um, intermediate certification as to be a certified professional astrologer. It's really important to listen and like bringing um, Aliza Kelly, she's a really well-known astrologer. She says it's not a good time to manifest because my thought process, and I agree with her, is what's happening during an eclipse is the sun and moon are coming together to form a solar eclipse or a new moon, or the sun and the moon are opposing each other to make a full moon lunar eclipse, and then the earth is obstructing that view. And so it's an A and B conversation with the sun and the moon, and the earth is getting in between that. And instead of the sun and the moon saying, we want to see your way out of this, Earth is actually there to get these downloads that we don't typically get with new moons and full moons. And so it's important for us to just to kind of like see our way out, not manifest, and see what comes in because lots of change comes in. Lots of change comes in. I like to say that eclipses are humbling experiences. Okay? It's a big old piece of humble pie. And they come to us at least 4 times a year. And right now, they're coming to us on the Pisces Virgo axis. Last March, we had a closing act for a an eclipse story that was spotlighting Aries and Libra. And now we are fully focused on the Pisces Virgo eclipse story. So the first eclipse that will be happening in September, it's on the September 7th, and it's a lunar eclipse in Pisces. And it's singing the same tune that happened last September, September 17th, 2024. Think about what was going on for you back then, because I guarantee you that story that first started to bloom, it will be more visible. It will make more sense this time around. So we're working with an energy that we kind of already have been uh we've been well versed in since for a year now, okay? But the one on the 21st is the one that I really actually do have my eye on. And it's it's funny, it's the 21st night of September, that Earth, Wind, and Fire song, and everybody's like, "Do you remember 21st night of September?" And it's going to be like what the hell just happened type of thing, especially for Virgos that are operating out of the low vibe tendencies of Virgo. And the low vibe tendency of Virgo, every sign has it, but it is the sign, the part of the sign that thinks it knows everything. The know-it-all, the perfectionist, and the fixer. So, if you're someone like that and you have a lot of Virgo placements, look to this video as insider information, and I want you to start leaning into the opposite of your sign, which is Pisces, and that is let go and let God, baby. That is the mantra that you should be working with these eclipses. And yeah, it's going to be helpful. So, eclipses are a reminder that we are not in control. It's a continuation of a story. And look, we haven't had a solar eclipse in Virgo for a while. It's been since 2009. Believe it was 2009. Let me just double check. Let's see. It might have been actually not 2009. It might have been all the way back to 2006, 2007. But it's around the same time. And if you think about it, that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. It's 2025. 18 years from 2025 is 2007. So yeah, it was around 2007. So we have not had a lunar, or sorry, a solar eclipse in Virgo since 2007, around 2007. Um, so yeah, what is going to be illuminated for you? What is going to be broken down for you? Remember, eclipses are pattern makers, pattern breakers, and Rebecca Gordon, one of my most well-respected uh teachers, she's a Virgo, and she likes to say that eclipses are kind of like, you know, driving down, listening to a radio station, really enjoying that radio station. It has all the hits, all the songs that you really like, and then the eclipse comes in, and then that radio station just goes static. And your job is to find a new radio station. So, pattern makers, pattern breakers. And we're going to go ahead and break down these eclipse charts. And I'm going to work in some other things as we do that, more information about the Cero cycles and things of that. And look, I'm doing this on the spot. I'm improving. I have not prepared. I want to see what just jumps out at me because sometimes it's better to do that. I've looked at these charts a little bit. I do not know what the Cero cycles that we're working on, but I'm going to get all that information for you. So, what you see here is the chart for the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. Okay. And it is happening at 15 degrees Pisces. So if you're listening and you have anything in Pisces or anything at the 15th degree, especially mutable signs, Sagittarius, Virgo, Gemini, Pisces, you will be heavily impacted by this eclipse. The node is at 18 degrees, so it's 3 degrees off. It's 100% a lunar eclipse. What we have present is we have Saturn retrograde in Pisces, which is going to be happening on September 1st. Saturn will re-enter Pisces and it will be in its retrograde. So that is no coincidence that this is occurring just 6 days before this fated event. Saturn wants to be a part of this conversation. And look, the way I look at this is the North Node is in Pisces. And I have been saying Pisces is in a position of power. And the thing about it is being in a position of power, it's not necessarily the easiest. It requires hard work. And with Saturn being there, it's showing me that Saturn wants to help. Saturn wants to be a part of this eclipse, and I think Saturn is going to be helping Pisces make those hard decisions that will be faded at the end of the day. So, what I would say is that if you are trying to make a very hard decision, don't do it around September 7th if you're a Pisces. Let Saturn actually kind of take the wheel. Let the eclipse take the wheel. Get in the driver's seat. Maybe get all the way in the back seat and do not be a backseat driver. Let's see what Saturn wants to teach you. Let's see what the node wants to teach you and the moon. So this is a full moon. Lots of emotion probably. Clear your schedule. It's a Sunday. Don't do a lot. Be around people that, understand you and you don't have to really like explain. They just get it. The sun's at 15 degrees Virgo. We have Mercury there. It's dignified when it's in Virgo. We just came out of a Mercury retrograde. I feel like it being a full moon, some message is going to be illuminated with this lunar eclipse. Look for something that needs to be illuminated. The node is there to shed the skin. Remember, Virgo is in the hot seat. And I will touch on more of the things that Virgo needs to kind of let go and let God, right? But another thing that caught my eye when I first looked at this was this. Okay, so the 15-degree mark in numerology, 15 pairs down to 6, which is the number of service, and that is connected to Virgo. But look, Venus is kind of in the conversation being at 15 degrees. And the 15 degrees is linked to, I'm going to see what sign it's linked to. Because that is going to say something as well. It's linked to Gemini, and it's a extra curious and chatty type of energy. Mercurial, remember? Okay, so little bit of facts. So number one, I'm gonna be looking for the Sero cycle. It's gonna take me probably some time because I didn't prepare, and sometimes I just like to do these things on a whim. But I'll be able to find it probably, and if I don't, I will put it in the show notes. Um, okay, lunar eclipses. All right, so here we go. September 7th, 2025. We are going to be working on Saros cycle 128. It is going to be visible in parts of the world like Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. So 128. Now remember, Saros cycles are things that started honestly so long ago. And it's just a very fascinating like measurement of time, which astrology is a measurement of time at the end of the day. And so this Saros cycle started back in the year of 1304, and we are in the year of 2025. So this is the 41st um, sequence in the Saros cycle. So it's about halfway through this Saros cycle. And so like I said, we will be working with 128. 128. Last year, we were working with 118 on September 17th, 2024. Back in March 14th, there was a lunar eclipse in Virgo. We were working at with 123. So we're working with 128. And I have my tarot cards here, and I think tarot is really good about asking questions about what does the collective need to know. Remember, Pisces is in a position of power. I like to say that, the mantra that we should be working with this eclipse is to let go and let God. And I'm moving my cursor. I want you to see that Jupiter is in the mix. Jupiter is in Cancer right now. It's trining this lunar eclipse in Pisces with all the Piscean activity down here, and then it's sextiling all the Virgo energy up here. So what does the collective need to know? What does the collective need to know, Tarot, with this Pisces lunar eclipse? And I am just going to take my time and I'll use my pendulum. I'll use my pendulum to select, and we will see what is it that the tarot wants to communicate to us about this lunar eclipse in Pisces. Remember, this is something that's kind of already come into our fields. It started back in last September. This is a continuation of this Piscean story where we had to let go and let God. Another mantra that we can work with is my time will come. So if you're waiting on anything, sometimes remember that that can be very divine. Delays can be very divine. It could be happening for a reason. Okay, so I feel like we have a card here. My pendulum is spinning counterclockwise, or sorry, clockwise. And there's a card that's just peeping out, and I believe that that one is it. So I'm going to pull that. And this is the message for the collective. It's in this tarot card. Okay, so it's a major arcana and it's the world. The world, I love it because it is working with the fixed signs, and all these eclipses are in mutable signs. Mutable is about being able to pivot, being able to adapt and change. So, in a way, mutable signs are very open to the change. Um, and so if you're not open to the change, this world card is saying you need to just be open to it because it's going to come in a big way. Jupiter's there. It's going to be big. So you might as well just surrender to the change. That's a good word for Pisces, surrender. So when we pull major arcana, it means that it's external events that we have no control over. So it's really when fate comes into tarot, in my opinion. And the one-liner with this deck is, at last, things have come full circle, and a difficult journey teaches or reaches its end, completion of a life lesson. And Saturn is a part of this card, and it's earth energy. Okay, let's look at what is here. Saturn is a part of the conversation. It's kind of the energy is it is what it is, right? And we are in an earth sun season, Virgo season. So that is there are no coincidences there. And so what I like to say is with the change, look, if you're in a situation that you don't necessarily like, then be excited for this eclipse because it's gonna come in and change that. Now, if for those that do really like their situation and they're like freaked out by the eclipses, just know that the change could be subconscious. It could be something that starts out really subtle and it doesn't really make sense for another 6 months, for another year. This eclipse story is going to be with us until 2027. So we still have a long way to go. And maybe with this lunar eclipse, um, it's going to be, in my opinion, more about a pattern breaker with this card coming through. And maybe it's going to illuminate or reveal a clue that you never thought you needed, because full moons do kind of shine a light on things that aren't very apparent when the moon is dark. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to the Virgo eclipse. Wow, okay. This one to me is going to be a little bit more tough. And the reason for that is because we have not had a Virgo eclipse, like I said, since about 2006, 2007. So it's been a while. And yeah, it's something that is going to be a little bit more of a wild card, because we haven't really been working with this energy um, during these we haven't been working with this energy in quite some time. It's been about 18 years, okay? So I'm looking for the Sero cycle, and it's a partial solar eclipse. It will be visible in places like the South Pacific, New Zealand, and Antarctica. And it's on 154. And that Sero cycle started in 1917. It's way more of a new cycle because 1917 wasn't that long ago. We're in 2025. Yeah, it is pretty new. But that means that it's probably very old at the same time, because remember, these things have been occurring since like the start of time. So we're working with this Cycle 154, and it's a partial new moon. So it's kind of like you can think of it like more of like a window that's opening, and this is maybe a more of a pattern maker. The last time there was a solar eclipse in the sign of Virgo at 29 degrees Virgo was 1968. So we haven't had an eclipse at the anaretic degree since 1968. And the 29 degree is called the anaretic degree. It's also called the fate degree. And it is attached to Leo energy. And this energy is very fiery. It can be dramatic. It can be selfish. So let's my face right now, dying at it. Okay, let's take a look at the chart. This is the first time I'm really like sinking my teeth in it. Okay, so first and foremost, we have the sun and the moon at 29 degrees 5 minutes at Virgo. We haven't had an eclipse in Virgo, a solar eclipse in Virgo, since 2006, 2007. We haven't had a solar eclipse in Virgo at the 29th degree um, since 1968. So it's about 11 degrees off of the node, meaning that this is the beginning of this story. It's a pattern maker. A window is opening. So it's not that close to the node, but the node is definitely present. And there's things that we need to learn from the node. Remember, when the south node is in the sign in a particular sign, that sign is in the hot seat. And the responsibility of that sign is to shed a skin. And the skin that Virgo needs to shed is the low vibe tendency of that sign. Virgo being a mutable earth sign, I like to say that it's a natural adapter and it adapts to routine. It loves to have a plan. It loves to be organized. And when things go haywire, it messes up the nervous system. So I think the thing that you should be doing during this time is to make sure that you're not overstimulating your nervous system. Keep that in check. And you can do that in a wide variety of ways, but a lot of self-care things. And um, I'll be mentioning those at the end. But all right, so what else is in Virgo? Venus is in Virgo. And you know what's interesting is that in the full moon lunar eclipse, Venus is in Leo, but Venus is now in Virgo. And that is a fall placement for Venus. Venus has to fall down, learn a lesson, and get back up. So there's something about self-love here, especially the Virgos that really don't understand that this evolution is taking place. So the things that the three things that I'm saying to people, and I feel like I'm a broken record, but when it comes to these eclipse messages, it's just what it is. Like it's the same three messages because it works across the collective, whether you have Virgo energy, Virgo placements or not. You have a house ruled by Virgo. Like I say all the time, you're not just one sign, you're all 12. And so there is a house, whether it's intercepted or ruling a part of your chart ruled by Virgo. So you do have Virgo energy, but the three things that we all need to do is we need to release, holding on to things past their expiration date. And boy, is that hard, even for me. I'm really taking my own advice these days because there are things that I want to hold on to, but would I drink spoiled milk? Would I eat moldy bread? And the answer is no, and you wouldn't be doing that either. So sometimes you just have to let go and let God, remember? The next thing that you need to do is release the analysis paralysis. Alexander McQueen said, paranoia will destroy you. And when you are spinning your wheels thinking that you're going to get the answer and there is no answer in sight, you are going to drive yourself crazy. And don't do it around this solar eclipse because where energy flows, energy goes or something like that, that one saying, you want to be very kind to yourself during these eclipses. You want to turn off the monkey mind and you want to allow the subconscious mind to do more of the processing. So, one thing that's so similar to this lunar eclipse is that another love planet has the same degree. Now, in the last one, I was showing you that Venus was at 15 degrees Leo. That's a love planet, that's divine feminine. Now, with the new moon and solar eclipse, it's Mars at the 29th degree of Libra, whereas the sun and the moon are at the 29th degree. Remember, this is Leo energy, even though Mars is at the 29th degree of Libra. It's fated. And this is more divine masculine. And to be honest with you, I think about the men in my life that um, don't do astrology, don't believe in it, and I feel like this eclipse is going to be more catered to their evolution. Um, or a woman that's really leaning into her masculinity. But it's just fascinating that Mars wants to be a part of this conversation at the 29th degree, like the sun and the moon. Mars in Libra, that is a detriment placement. So Venus is in fall, whereas Mars is in detriment. Mars does not like to be in Libra. In fact, its strength, like really is watered down with a lack of a better term when it's in Libra. Um, it's kind of like shouting in the wind. It's just like you're not going to really win the argument when Mars is in Libra. So there's something there where how we have approached aggression or confrontation in the past, it's not working it anymore. It's not working anymore. And I feel like what comes to me right now is violence is the answer, war is the answer, um, just like brutality. It's just it doesn't work anymore. I feel like the divine feminine is really just not totally like drinking the Kool-Aid anymore. It's like I feel like a lot of women are waking up, and if guys don't start kind of like signing on to this new awakening, it's like women are kind of just like, I don't really need this energy in my life. And I feel like this is a nudge to the men that are in our lives that have not really tapped into their divine feminine to be like, let's look at things differently. Let's approach things differently. Okay, so Saturn is being opposed by this, and same with the node. And so this is hard work. I mean, this is not easy. This is a stare off in the sky with the sun and the moon with Saturn. This is not easy energy. Um, there needs to be a lot of self-love. And so another thing that Virgo needs to do is release the inner critic, whether you are critical towards yourself or critical towards people around you. One thing that is also present is Jupiter is still in the mix. It's sextiling. It's about 8 degrees off of the sun and the moon, and then it's trining Saturn, and it's about 7 degrees off. So it's definitely a part of the picture, just a little bit like less intense. So let's see what tarot would have to say about this Virgo solar eclipse. This is a new moon times 10. I'll use the pendulum, but I'm looking at one card and I think it's the card, so I'm just going to hover it over it, make it quick, efficient, effective. Virgos love that, and yes, it is the card. So this is the message for the Virgo solar eclipse on the 21st night of September. And we have the Four of Wands. And so this card is Aries energy, it's Venus energy, and when Venus is in Aries, it's in detriment. Just like when Mars is in Libra, it's in detriment. So this is really interesting that this is coming up because it is the opposition of Libra. And Venus is the opposition of Mars. So it's really fascinating. This is fire energy, the 29th degree. Remember, it's linked to Leo. So fire energy is going to come through, even though we are working with mainly water and earth, but it's very strong. And I feel like the message here is that this could potentially feel like a punch in the gut because it's going to be a lot of letting go, a lot of releasing that control freak energy of Virgo. Um, and I think it's going to rattle some people. And when Venus is in Aries, it's all about remembering who you are. And we just had that Aries and Libra eclipse story that ended just this past March. And that was the lone wolf era. And it was really about being in a time of selfishness and putting yourself first and not bending over backwards for people and stopping the people pleasing. And so I feel like this is kind of a reminder of that if we can do that and we can admit that we don't know everything, that the welcome arrival of someone or something long awaited does come in. But remember, it's all about letting it go. So it's about, once again, releasing things past their expiration date. We are not hanging out with people, hanging out with lovers, or working at jobs that, just don't really serve us any good. Look, the job market sucks. I'm not saying to quit your job, but if you have something lined up and it's just as good as an opportunity than the one before it, like I would kind of go for it. So there's a part of me that wants to go grab my Oracle deck. And I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to have to go off camera just for a second, but I'm going to come back with that. Okay, so another thing that I want to just mention, 29 pairs down to 11, pairs down to 2. So with numerology, we're working with duality, contrast. And I think it goes back to that message, not ever, and there's nothing is inherently good or bad. We need yin and yang, dark and light, love and grief, um, or joy and Greek, love and pain, all that stuff. So I'm gonna pick just one card from this Oracle deck. There are no coincidences for eclipse season 2 of 2025. What is it that we need to know? And this is from Eliza Kelly. I got this deck when I went to her Oracle launch in New York City. At the time, I was a server at Cafe Mogador. A day before that I bought my ticket, I was thinking about going to this launch, and then I was like, I'm not really sure if I like want to ask off for work. It's kind of a pain. And then I went into work, I think the next day, and I'm working in the garden in Williamsburg location, and who walks in? Aliza Kelly. She sits in my section, and I tell her about like contemplating going, and she's like, "You got to go." And it was no coincidence that she sat in my section. It was meant to happen. And the same thing is going to happen with these eclipses. There are no, it's not a coincidence. They're meant to happen for evolution. It's adjustment period. It's about the universe helping you getting your soul back on track. It's catapulting you into places that you should be. And I really like these messages with these oracle cards. But one of the things is you know what you need to know when you need to know it. So I challenge you that if anything is confronting during this eclipse season, and it's something that you kind of already knew, instead of trying to walk up the current, I want you to just kind of let the river take you into the direction that you need to be taken in. Don't resist. Remember, it's all about surrender because the North Node is in Pisces. And Pisces is really good about understanding that the universe, source energy, God, whatever you want to call it, has a divine plan for all of us. So we're going to pick one card. I'm going to use my pendulum. And what was interesting is that at this launch, Ophi and Tally were at this launch and they were helping Eliza put it on. And I really wasn't working with a pendulum then, but like just recently started to bring it in. And remember, this is the year of the great pendulum. And the pendulum is going to be selecting our oracle card for eclipse season 2. It's the last eclipse season of 2025. And I have our card. It's over here, lots of oranges being shown. That's my favorite color. And this is no coincidence. Mercury came through. We have the planet 4. That is the great miracle number in numerology. The Pythagoreans used it. They loved it. And so I'm going to read you the interpretation of Mercury. And that will be it for this big night in the sky. So the key words, communication, contemplation, discourse, and logic. And the tank, which are there are no coincidences, like the tank things to look out for are messages, calendars, transportation, journals, the zodiac signs of Gemini and Virgo. We are back to school. All this stuff is definitely coming through. We are in Virgo season, which is a sign linked to Mercury. So here it goes. The story. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun and the smallest of the rocky planets in the asteroid belt. Mercury whips around the sun, completing an orbit in 88 days. And from our perspective on Earth, the planet appears to move backward 3 or 4 times a year, creating an optical illusion as Mercury retrograde. Although all planets, excluding the luminaries, the Sun and Moon, have retrograde orbits, Mercury's is certainly the most notorious. In classical antiquity, Roman Mercury was the divine messenger, representing merchants, travelers, transporters, and even thieves. His lord, his lore was derived from the Greek deity Hermes. Likewise, Mercury is associated with communication, expression, language, and the matters of the mind. So it should be no surprise that problems arise when things go backwards. In mythology, Mercury is often depicted sporting a winged helmet or sandals, wearing a satchel, and or carrying a wand entwined with 2 snakes. We are in the year of the snake, by the way, in Chinese astrology, referred to as his catechus. Mercury's catechus was used to guide the deceased into Pluto's underworld. Pluto just went out of bounds. Or for those who were mistakenly escorted, bring the dead back to life. This mystical property is why the catechus also represents health and medicine and is often seen on hospitals and ambulances. Applied on a daily basis, Mercury's greatest strengths are expressed through the power of words. Remember, I said be an active listener during eclipse season. There is a message that wants to come through for all of us. The interpretation. This card implores you to consider the impact of expression, thoughts, feelings, sensitivities, even dreams, goals, and ambitions. Dreams are attached to Pisces, can function independently from our articulation, so the presence of Mercury invites you to focus exclusively on the transmission. Are you really saying what you mean? Is there a disconnect between what you want and what you're expressing? Perhaps you've been indirect, padding your intentions with fillers like niceties, question words, or qualifications. If so, Mercury's presence urges you to be more straightforward, be clear, honest, and matter of fact. Or maybe your current situation requires a bit more finesse. How can your dialogue be more lyrical, persuasive? Working with Mercury is recognizing the incredible alchemy of communication. By using the right messaging, even the most stressful challenges can transform into monumental opportunities in the blink of an eye. This is true magic. So, with this card and with the tarot card with this solar eclipse in Virgo, when it talks about being matter of fact, I feel like women with this solar eclipse in Virgo are going to have the opportunity to really work through the throat chakra. So rituals like opening the throat chakra is important. But remember, being able to stand in your authenticity, that's Aries energy. It's all about you. Not being afraid to speak from your authentic place in this world. I feel like there's going to be a lot of messages coming in, especially with both of these events. Number one, the Pisces one, dreams could be coming in. It might be hard for you to sleep around the lunar eclipse. It's a blood moon. With the solar eclipse, there could be dreams as well. But just remember to be an active listener and to look out for signs. And I really like to work with angel numbers. So if you're familiar with those are repetitions of numbers. And on my Instagram, you will be able to see like little informative guides to educate you on the meanings of each angel numbers. But yeah, I feel like there's going to be so many great messages that are going to be coming in through these eclipses. I'm very excited for them. I'm very excited. I've had a lot of change in 2025, but I'm ready for more. I'm ready for to evolve. I'm ready to get back on the path that is destined for me, and that is what eclipses are all about, and you should feel the same exact way. I will see you next time for another big night in the sky. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to book with me, it's very, very easy to do that. You just reach out or you go on my Calendly page. I will do one-on-ones, repeat clients get little discounts, and if you're new to this ritual work, you can come and stop at one of the locations that I'm a resident astrologer. I will be at Anima Mundi on the 14th and the 20th, educating people on these eclipses. I have celebrated a birthday on an eclipse. I've been grandfathered in to being an eclipse baby, and it's really not a time for manifesting. But it's if you want to learn and get an upper hand on this energy, it's a great time to have a mini reading. But anyway, I will see you all very soon, and I appreciate all the support this past year, and more things down the pipeline with hypnotherapy and EFT tapping. So those are some of those rituals that I really like, and they have really done some outstanding things for me. So I'm offering those to personal clients. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in joining a circle of mine, just reach out and I will get you the information. All right. Take care.